Welcome to Mountain Cooking with Missy. Look what I'm making, y'all. A Coca-Cola cake. Look at that. It's so good. I can't wait to eat it. So let's get started. Hey mountain friends, welcome to Mountain Cooking with Missy. As I've been promising y'all, I'm doing 12 cakes of Christmas. So this is one cake that I really like to eat, and it's chocolate. Chocolate's one of my favorites. And this is a pretty popular cake. I think most people have heard of this cake. If you haven't, I'd be curious if you haven't heard of it. But really, it is a really good simple cake. And this is a scratch made cake, and I got this out of an old recipe book that I've had for years. It was my mom's, and mom let me have it, and it's really good. And it's just one of them, just like, give me a good scoop of ice cream on top of it and I'm good to go. So jot down the ingredients, but I'll also be sharing the recipe at the top of my page, Mountain Cooking with Missy. If you go and you look underneath there, you'll see photos. Click on photos, and I have albums there. And my albums, the album that I have titled recipes is where I share like most of my recipes. They're in a picture form. They have the recipe right on it. All you gotta do is tap it twice to look at the whole recipe, and you can share it too, and you can screenshot it. I will also be sharing the recipe in the comments in this video too. So we're gonna get started right away. This would be a perfect cake to take to parties. I know there's a lot of holiday parties coming up. Even before Christmas time, there's always something going on, seems like. And you need something different to take everybody a Coca-Cola cake. So you're gonna need 2 cups of all-purpose flour. You're gonna need 2 eggs, 3 tablespoons of cocoa powder, 2 sticks of butter, a half a cup of buttermilk, 1.5 cups of sugar, 1 cup of pop, Coca-Cola right here, and a teaspoon of baking soda. That's for the cake part. The icing part, which is what you're gonna pour on the cake when it's hot, and you're gonna need 3 cups of powdered sugar, 3 tablespoons of cocoa powder, half a cup of butter, which is 1 stick. 1 stick of butter is a half a cup. So 2 sticks is a cup. So 1 more cup of Coke. So you'll need another cup for the frosting, the icing part. And optional, you can do a cup of chopped pecans on top of it. Roasted pecans is always the best. Always roast your pecans. Always roast walnuts, pecans, especially pecans. If you got a recipe that calls for them, roast them. It makes a difference. They're so good. Toasted, I should say toasted. So that's the frosting part that's going to go on this cake. So going to get started right away. So I'm excited to make it for y'all. All right, I'm going to start on the cake part. You do have to melt your butter. I do want to say you want your oven preheated to 350. So I have 2 sticks of butter in here, and this is going to start to melt. I got it on like a medium low heat. You're going to add in a cup of your Coca-Cola right in with your butter. And you're going to add in your baking cocoa, your cocoa powder. And you're going to bring this up to heat. You're going to melt it slowly. You want your butter to melt. It's better if your butter's room temperature. Bring it up to a slow boil and start stirring it. All right, now while the butter is melting on the stove and the cocoa mixture and with the Coke is melting, I'm gonna get my flour and my sugar and my baking soda here in my bowl. So you want to put 2 cups of all-purpose flour in here. I'm going to put my flour here in my bowl, my all-purpose. And like I always say, you want to level your flour off. Don't shake it down in when you're scooping it out. Don't settle it down in there because you'll get too much. You just level. What I do, I just put my flour in and level it off level it off with my fingers, or you can use a knife, any level edge, but make sure you don't settle your flour down in there. And I'm gonna put 1.5 cups of sugar, not using the full 2 cups. So I personally don't think it needs it because it's got Coke in there. And I don't want it overly sweet. And I want to do a teaspoon of baking soda in here. Let me get my right measurement here. And anytime you're doing like leavening agents like baking soda and baking powder and all that stuff, make sure you do heaping teaspoons, heaping measurements is what I should say. So that's a heaping when it kind of heaps up. And that's a teaspoon of sody. My mom calls it sody. I like to call it sody. So I'm just going to mix this up. And we're fixing to pour that hot melted butter and Coke and the cocoa into this because it's going to be hot. Then we'll add our eggs and our buttermilk. All right. The Coca-Cola and the butter and the cocoa powder is all melted and smooth and ready to put in the in our flour mixture. All right, now this hot mixture goes right into your flour, sugar, and baking soda here. Pour it right in there. It smells so good, y'all. It really does. Y'all, tell me what your favorite cake is. I mean, my favorite simple cake is a cake like this, like a simple sheet cake, chocolate cake. I like Texas sheet cake. I love this cake. My favorite simple cake. More complicated cakes, oh gosh, I don't know. I love a hummingbird cake and an Italian cream cake. Pretty good. If you want to call them a little bit more complicated, like a layer cake. I like red velvet. So this is all stirred together and it's going to look kindly thick, like a brownie mix, and that's okay. And I like a simple pineapple upside down cake too. But yeah, I'm curious what your favorite cake is. I'm not a fan of a fruit cake. I don't eat fruit cake at all. Okay. And you just want to stir this. It gets a little tough because it gets thick. But you want to stir it till there's no more white flour in there. You don't want to see no streaks of your white flour, okay? You want to make sure it's all stirred in. And it is. Whew, give my arm a workout. Now in goes the buttermilk, 1/2 cup. And I prefer whole. If I can find whole buttermilk, I get it. If not, just use whatever you can find. Your 2 eggs. Now this is going to go in a 13x9 pan. And now this doesn't call for no vanilla or nothing. It ain't got no vanilla extract in it. The frosting doesn't either. Yeah, a lot of old-timey recipes, sometimes they didn't call for it. So this does not call for it. So you're going to stir that, see? And you want to stir it just until it's combined, where you don't see any of your eggs in there. You don't want it gloppy still. I mean, you want it mixed good enough, but you don't want to overmix it. So I'm just gonna mix that. It's almost done. So I'm using a 9x13 glass pan, and I'm spraying it with Baker's Joy. Baker's Joy already has flour and stuff in it. Well, it's just basically flour already in it. That way sometimes you don't have to flour and grease something. Get Baker's Joy. There you go. All taken care of. Now this is going to bake probably only about 25-30 minutes. Make sure that usually the edges the cake on the edges of the cake start pulling away. You know it's done and it's not jiggly. Or if you can touch it and it springs back, it's done. Or put your toothpick in it that comes out clean. I don't like an overdone cake, so after about 20 minutes I check mine, because I for sure do not like it overdone. Spread it to the edges, and you want to make sure you do that because you don't want it, if you spread it to the edges the best you can like this right here, it'll kindly help it from getting a dome. It'll help it bake a little flatter and give it a good shake. Like that. It gets the bubbles out and helps it settle. All right. Now, going right in the oven. After about 20 minutes, I'm going to check it. And when it comes out, the icing on this goes right on the cake when it comes out. So it's all going to go on hot, which I like. I like a good warm cake. Then you can eat it cool or cold. Some people do. Well, most people do eat it room temperature. Some people like it chilled. I like it when it's a little warm after it's cooled down a while. But yeah, everything goes on it while it's still hot. So let's get it in the oven. Now we're gonna get started on the icing part for the cake. I got a stick of unsalted butter over medium heat already starting to melt. I'm going to pour in a cup of my Coke, and I'm going to put in my cocoa powder. Now I'm going to let that slowly melt, and right when it's melted and right before it comes to a boil, I'm going to take it off the heat and add my sugar to it. The cake just came out of the oven. I want to show you all. Look how it bounces back and it's pulled away from the edges. It is done, and it took it about 30 minutes. And what I always like to do with my cakes, you don't have to do it. I like to press mine down a little bit, especially like a sheet cake or a cake in a pan. I press mine down because I don't like mine dry, and I think it just makes it moister. Won't hurt it a bit. And just press it down a little bit. And we're going to pour the icing on it right here in just a minute. Now I'm going to add my sugar to finish off my icing. It's all melted and just about ready to boil. So I'm going to do my powdered sugar in here. Now, I said it took about 3 cups of sugar for the icing. Start out with 2 and see how it does. You want it thin, but you don't want, you don't want it really thick either. Just stir it in. Yeah, I will need some more.
Looks like hot chocolate.
I know. And we'll do the 3rd cup. Powdered sugar always makes a mess. Lordy mercy.
Yeah, it's bad.
And you just pour this over the cake. It's good and hot. Now, I didn't mention it, but you are going to add some vanilla in your icing. So I'm going to do about a teaspoon of vanilla. And pouring it over the cake while it's hot is the trick.
Need a whisk.
Yeah, I probably do. You're gonna get me a whisk. Yeah, I want to use over here, get on my whisks here so it won't get, make sure I don't have any lumps. If you want your icing thicker, some people like it more like a thicker frosting. You can add more sugar if you want. 4 maybe instead of 3. I like the icing kind of thin to where it just coats the cake and soaks into it. And it'll still glaze up when the icing cools off.
That's the best part.
Yeah, it'll glaze up, kind of be like a, yeah, it'll be like a glaze.
Like a glazed donut.
Yeah, kind of crusty.
How to crack.
Yeah, a little bit of that. So, yeah. So if you want it thicker, just add just some more sugar. It's the best part. It's always the best part. Yes. Yes. So I'm just gonna let that settle down. It'll go down into the sides too. See, watch it start to come in. And I'm gonna use every bit of it. This is a good cake, y'all. I like it with a scoop of vanilla bean ice cream. It's also good with a big dollop of whipped cream.
Holy cow.
Yep, it's a lot. If you don't want that much, you can always back off and not use the whole. You can use like a half a recipe of this frosting if you wanted to, but. All right, so it's gonna just sit, and at this point is when you would put any toasted pecans on it if you wanted to do pecans. So we'll let it cool off and then we'll get a bite. All right, my little taste tester is all excited here to taste this Coca-Cola cake, and we put a dollop of whipped cream on top of it.
Oh,
really
Lord.
good with a scoop of vanilla ice cream. And she likes this cake anyway, so. What do you think, little sister?
The whipped cream,
Whipped cream
really tops it off.
Yeah, whipped cream or a scoop of vanilla bean ice cream is all this cake needs. And y'all, it's just the bomb.
It's so good.
And it's, look at that. You can tell it's moist and good. And to go with a cup of coffee, glass of milk, whatever you want. But all right, there you go, y'all. It's a good old Coca-Cola cake. And
10 out of 10.
yeah,
Super, super good.
Kenzie approves. All right, y'all. Hope you make it.
When do I not approve?
Yeah. If you make it, let us know, and I will be dropping the recipe in the comments soon. But this is a pretty straightforward recipe, not hard at all. All right, perfect for Christmas coming up. So there y'all go. There you go. Thank you for watching Mountain Cooking with Missy. Where it's nothing fancy.
Just good eating.
It's good eating, guys.